Welcome to another video. Today we are going to be working on the rank and file for the Erskine Warriors Guild affiliate. This warlord is always on the lookout for valuable resources and sites to claim for the kindred's ever acquisitive guilds. In your command phase, you can select one friendly league core unit within 6 inches of this warlord. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit has the Objective Secured ability. See Warhammer 40k rulebook. If a model in that unit already has this ability, that model counts as one additional model when determining control of an objective marker. Unreeling Toil Aura. This warlord is a tireless exemplar. They inspire similar dedication in their warriors who redouble their efforts in this warlord's phase. While a friendly league core unit that is performing an action is within 6 inches of this warlord, that unit can shoot without the action failing. Grim Demeanor Aura. This warlord's grim countenance is legendary, and they are rumored to have never smiled. Such a demeanor is, of course, an outward sign of how serious this warlord undertakes their solemn tasks, and under their stern gaze no kin will be found wanting. While a friendly league core unit is within 6 inches of this warlord, that unit can ignore any or all modifiers to its leadership characteristic. Each time a combat attrition test is taken for that unit, you can ignore any or all modifiers. Skynrot Discipline. Before the battle, generate the psychic powers for psychic models from your army list that know powers from Skynrot Discipline using the table below. You can either roll a d6 to generate each power randomly, reroll duplicate results, or you can select which powers the Psyker knows. When a Psyker unit from your army manifests a psychic power from this discipline, replace all instances of the leader's keyword or the league's keyword on the psychic power, if any, with the name of the league that the psyker is from. Interface echo. The Grimoire draws empirical archive Votannic wisdom from within Ward Tech augmented neural buffers and used it to inform their comrades' battle plan. Blessing. Interface echo has a warp charge value of 5. If manifested, you gain 1 command point. The limit of gaining or refunding 1 CP per battle round does not apply to any command points gained via this psychic power. Fortify. The kin have a natural belief in their own indomitable fortitude, employing control empirical engineers. The Grimoire causes these beliefs to manifest as temporary psychical enhancements. Blessing. Fortify has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select 1 friendly League, Core, or League character within 12 inches of this psyker until the start of your next turn or psychic phase. Add 1 to the toughness characteristic of the model in that unit. Roll a d6 each time a model in that unit loses a wound. On a 6, that wound is not lost. Ancestral Wrath. Channeling the grim hatred of all kin believe the ancestors hold for their foes. The Grimoire transmute into furious, destructive energies. White fire leaps from their eyes, their fingertips, and their open mouth, blasting the foes to scattered ashes. Witchfire. Ancestral Wrath has a warp charge of value 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to this psyker and roll 3 dice. If that enemy unit contains 11 or more models, roll 6 dice instead. In each case, add 1 to each. In each case, add 1 to each result if that enemy unit has 1 or more judgment tokens on it. For each roll of 4+, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. Grudgepire. Harnessing the kin's greatest hatred for a begrudged foe, the Grimoire infused their victims in a pillar of flame that sourced them from existence. Witchfire. Grundyar has a warp charge value of 4. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit that is not a vehicle, monster, or character within 18 inches of and visible to this psyker. Roll 2d6 and add the number of judgment tokens that are next to that unit to the result. If the result is greater than the unmodified leadership characteristic of that unit, one model selected by your opponent in that unit is destroyed. Null Vortex. Unleashing the full control or full contra-empiric power of their barrier tech, the Grimoire project a null probability field that causes enemy foes' shields to flicker and die, and even the most agile foes to fumble weakly in their efforts to evade harm. Malediction. Null Vortex has a warp charge of 8. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this Psyker unit. Until the start of your next psychic phase, models in that unit cannot use any invulnerable saves. Crushing Contempt. The glowing stare of the Grimoire bore into the enemy. Its manifested disdain and anger intensifies by the moment until they feel it weighing as a psychic force. It causes them to stagger and stay strained simply to keep from collapsing. Malediction. Crushing Contempt has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of this Psyker. Roll 3d6. If the result is greater than or equal to the leadership characteristic of that enemy unit, until the start of your next psychic phase, that unit cannot perform actions. If that unit is currently performing an action, it immediately fails. If the result is greater than the leadership characteristic of the enemy unit until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. Chapter Approved Rules. If every model from your army has a Votann keyword, excluding models with the unaligned keyword, you can, if you are playing a match play battle that instructs you to select secondary objectives, mission from the Eternal War missions pack in the rulebook. Select one of them Select one of them to be from the Votann secondary objective list. Like all other secondary objectives, each of the secondary objective lists below has a category, and they follow all of the normal rules. The second objective explain. For example, when you select secondary objectives, cannot choose more than one from each category. You can score no more than 15 victory points from each secondary objective you select during this mission. No mercy, no respite. The ancestors are watching. Progressive objective. The kin prioritize the destruction of their foes, judged wanting by the ancestors, and the better to live up to those ancient expectations. At the end of the phase, score 2 victory points if one or more enemy units that had one or more judgment tokens was destroyed by a Votann unit from your army during that phase. Score an additional 1 victory point for each of those enemy units that had 3 or more judgment tokens when it was destroyed. At the end of the battle, reduce the number of victory points you have earned from this secondary objective by 1 to a minimum of 0 for each unit that is on the battlefield or that is embarked on a transport that is itself on the battlefield that has 1 or more judgment tokens. Purge the enemy. Grudge march. Endgame objective. On occasion, the kin develop such a grudge that the elimination of certain enemies become all-consuming, whether it is efficient or pursue such vendetta or not. If you select this objective, then before the battle you must identify 5 units from your opponent's army, one of which must be the enemy's warlord, and make a note of them on your army roster. If your opponent's army has 5 or fewer units, then you instead identify all the units in your opponent's army. At the end of the battle, for each of the identified units that was destroyed by the Votann unit from your army, you score 1 victory point. If that unit had a point cost of 150 or more, you score 1 additional victory point, and or if that unit was destroyed by a melee attack, you score 1 additional victory point, to a maximum of 3 victory points per unit. A unit points value includes the points of all weapons. A unit's points value includes the points of all weapons, other war gear, and upgrades it has. At the end of the battle, reduce the number of victory points you have earned from this secondary objective by 1 to a minimum of 0 for each of the identified units that has not been destroyed. If a unit splits into several smaller units during the battle, all units separate. All of those separated units, excluding drone units, must be destroyed at the end of the battle for the unit to be counted as being destroyed for the purpose of this objective. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, share with your friends. If you like this content, you can follow me on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, or YouTube. I'm also on Locals. I'm using more as a donation place, or a supporter sort of haven. You can also provide single or monthly donations with the links in the description. If you have any problems, just let me know. And thanks again.